Hello, friends, and welcome to the Virtual Strangers review discussion of Moss. All right, so I chose to review Moss this week. As I said on the Sunday show, this is a game we kind of all wanted to review since we changed our format, but we have waited for the upcoming DLC that we knew was coming. It released just this past week, so finally we get to review this uh, game, which is one of the best games that VR has to offer right now. It's a puzzle adventure, or some people would refer to it as a puzzle platformer. It was released uh, as a PSVR exclusive on the 27th of February 2018, and then it came to PCVR on the 7th of June that very same year. The DLC I just referred to launched with Oculus Quest on May 21st of this year, and then it just came to PCVR and PSVR just last Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Last Tuesday, last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so as I was saying, this is a puzzle platforming adventure, which takes place in third person, but you are present in the game as kind of an invisible helper to the lead character Quill, which is a tiny mouse who who are, whose origins are from the woods. But we'll get into the story in a minute and why the village is has been displaced into the woods, and what the plot of the game is. We'll talk about that in a minute. The first thing I want to talk about in this game is the first thing you notice when you go into this game, and that is the absolutely beautiful graphics and just overall production value of this game. Roots, go back to the first time that you played Moss. What was the first thing that jumped out uh, to you when you entered this world?
Exactly what you said. Just the Great Hall, and I felt like I was like literally in a story, with the book, and it was kind of I guess kind of in a way a theme in a sense, some sense of the games we're doing this week, or some of them. It felt magical to me, like it was very immersive, and the Great Hall, I felt like I was in this huge hall, and I don't know, it just was very done very well graphically for sure.
Yeah, what Roots is referring to here is the title screen of this game. It isn't a traditional title screen uh, that you would find in most games. When you enter this game, you're sitting in what he just said, a great hall, and there's a storybook in front of you. And as you progress through the game, the story unfolds, complete with a narrator and an illustrated book. And you'll jump into the game, play through a chapter, and then you'll jump back out to the book, have some narration and storytelling in the book in front of you, and then back into the game. But what he's talking about with the Great Hall, it's this big auditorium that you're in that really reminded me of
Mhm.
Hogwarts. You know, in the Harry Potter movies, when you go into Hogwarts and they're having this big feast in this giant uh, auditorium with the the headmaster sitting up front, it really put me in the mind of that. And uh, what really is so breathtaking about that scene specifically is you've heard us talk repeatedly on this channel about one of the things that's most striking in VR is the when the developers play with scale. And some developers play with small scale, and other developers play with large scale. But this game is unique because it does both at the same time. You have a very small character taking action in a very small, village or castle, but the environments like the Great Hall and the forest that you're in, these are all very huge. So you're actually getting the best of both, the very minuscule small scale and the very large scale at the same time. And everything is crisp and highly detailed. Uh, and for me, as I played through this game, I literally spent just as much time uh, just looking at everything and being wowed by it as I did actually playing the game. Uh, what about you, Alex? What did you think about this game from a visual standpoint?
Yeah, the game looks great. I will say, if you're on PC, when you go into the game, it doesn't have any sort of options menu. Normally, you have like a menu before you start the game, and for some reason that made me not check the settings. And it was only after I left my first like hour of the game, I found the settings and realized that it was on low. So it's you need to press one of the buttons to open the menus, and then you can change to medium or high, and it does make a difference. So if you've got a decent PC, make sure you do that first before you get into the game. Otherwise, I ended up replaying the first hour because I wanted to play it again with the high graphics settings. But yeah, it looks beautiful. Graphically, it's not just the graphics, it's the world that they've built as well. I mean, it's a really beautiful world. You find yourself wanting to look around. There's other little creatures and characters that are in the world that you want to look at. And because it's VR, you can really get down in there, look down really close. You can look around you. And it does encourage you to do that as well. Even though it looks like a traditional third person, well, kind of platformer. They want to get you involved, like Wes already said. So, you need to find these scrolls, and these little scrolls are in hard to see places. If you just sit and play the game, you will never see all the scrolls. You have to physically sometimes stand up, look around, and actually get up off your seat to be able to find them. And then there's interactions that you do, which we'll talk more about in the gameplay side of things. But the game itself just looks great. It's got great detail. With the new DLC, they've added even more beauty to the world. And it's just a game that I played pretty much, I think, like 2 nights straight back to back. It took me about three, I think 3.5 hours to finish it. But now they've added the DLC. You've got about an extra hour on there. So if you've never played it before, you're probably looking at about 4 to 4.5 hours to finish this game. But yeah, good looking game. One of the better looking games. Don't let the 2D videos fool you, because it looks absolutely amazing in VR.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And yeah, with the scrolls that you have to collect, which I guess you don't have to collect them, but they put them in there as just a way to allow you some kind of achievement by finding these things. The way that some of them are hidden are really quite clever, and you have to move to see them. And sometimes it's even just a couple of inches. Like if you sit still in your chair, you'll never see something. But if you do just this and lean a little bit, it'll come into view and you'll see it. And what you were saying earlier about not knowing about the graphical settings and the options, the exact same thing happened to me. I started this game on PlayStation VR, and I thought it looked beautiful there. And then I came over and played it on the PC, and it looked even better. And I thought, man, this thing looks really good. And I then realized that it was defaulted to the low graphical setting. So I set it up on high, and man, that much better. What was already stunning, even on PlayStation VR, is just absolutely fully rendered, beautiful scenes on the PC. So that said, all right, yes, the scenes are well laid out. The environments are breathtakingly large and small at the same time. But let's talk about the audio. Not only do you have, you know, grade A, top of the line voice acting in this game, absolutely wonderful voice acting to used to tell this great story. But the sounds of the environments, the ambient sounds of being in the woods, the sounds of your enemies as they're coming at you, all this stuff is great. And not only that, but there's also orchestral music playing, just as if this were some kind of top of the line Hollywood film. And that's really what it feels like, that you're not only participating in a game, but you're watching this CGI high quality film from Hollywood or something. Did you get that same sense, Alex, from the sound design?
Yeah, the sounds excellent, and I think it's worth mentioning as well. As I don't know if we mentioned this, but uh, we've said it's third person, but you actually, if you're not watching the video and you're just listening and you've never played this game before, you're actually controlling a little mouse. So you've got this little mouse called Quill, who you control, and the way that they tell the story is through this narrator, who's like kind of because you're effectively going through a story with a book, and the narrator's kind of telling the story. She does all the different voices of Quill and all the different characters. So it really is. It really is like someone's reading a book to you, like a storybook. And the voice acting is really top notch. And like you say, just the sounds. When Quill kind of gets hit, you have to revive her by clicking on her, and then you pull her up and hold for a few seconds, and then you can hear this pop, and you get this nice bassy boom every time she pops back up. And it's just the attention to detail that they've done in everything in the world, but also in the sound design, is really top notch, and it is AAA quality. I think the main criticism we always had was game length, and they have helped with fix that with the DLC. And if you haven't played the DLC, it's worth going back in for that as well. If you want to hear us talk more about that, then I would recommend going and listening to our last week's games cast, because we went into quite a bit of detail about the actual DLC separately. But yeah, to find the DLC, you need to go to these little orbs, like these green orbs, which are scattered throughout. There's 3 different portals, so it's definitely worth looking for those as well, because it adds game length and it adds something to the game as well. So
Yeah, the DLC was awesome. It was every bit the quality, the level of quality as the main game, and it's implemented in such a way that you wouldn't know that it was added in. It feels like it's just a natural part of the game that should have been there all along. So I absolutely agree. If you've already beaten this game and haven't played the DLC, 100%. If you enjoyed the game, you're going to really love the DLC, because it really lives up to the standards. So let's talk a little bit about the story and the gameplay here. So you open up in the woods, which is absolutely stunning scene, as we just said, of these gigantic trees that seem like they go on forever into the sky. And you, as a spectator, watch as Quill enters the frame, and for some reason, Quill can see you. No one else can. And the narrator tells this story of how Quill's village has been driven from their home. They have this keep that you actually get into later in the game, but they've been driven from their home by these evil beings for, I don't know, I don't remember exactly how long, but it seems like it was hundreds of years. This is something that happened to Quill's ancestors. And Quill finds this relic in the woods that somehow makes her the chosen one, the hero, the stereotypical hero of the story. And from there, her journey starts. And the way this works, you make your way through the village. Your uncle, Quill's uncle, I guess I should say, sees the relic, recognizes what it is, and disappears. Says he'll be back shortly. He never comes back. So that's your quest, is to find your Uncle Argus and free him from the clutches of the evil that has taken hold of the world. Roots, talk a little bit about the gameplay. This is a kind of a hack and slash style action gameplay mixed with a puzzler. Is that how you would describe it?
That's exactly how I would describe it. And I like how they dull the everything you do. They give you a little bit more as you go along, but you actually get, as you can see, you get to actually involve yourself in the game. Not only are you Quill running around, but you will open doors. You're grabbing pedestals and raising them, and that's part of the puzzle a lot of times. Or even you can run into these creatures that you're about to see here in a second, where you can actually grab them and control them, and you can pause them and attack with one hand, or like with these bombs, you can lead them to different things. So there's there's was so many, even with playing through it the first time through and going back for the DLC, there was quite a few puzzles I had forgotten in the last few months. It took me about 5-10 minutes looking at it and trying to figure out what the hell, almost frustrating for me, because I'm thinking I did this, already. I should be able to go right through this, but not frustrating in a sense of anything more than a puzzle game. So I think they did it very well, and it just, everything feels right. The combat, it's very reminiscent of any normal platformer, but then enhanced with you being in the game and then being able to influence everything around. And I'll add, Quill couldn't do what she does in this game if you weren't with her. I mean, you're an intricate part in the story, and I'm not even just saying that. The narrator tells me that, so it must be true. But yeah, I think the gameplay on every level, they nailed it.
Yeah, I think that's important to note that you are a character in this story that the narrator refers to as the reader. And I think that the most impressive part about the gameplay to me is, even though there's so many different things going on here, there's platforming, there's puzzles, there's hack and slash action gameplay. The most impressive part of it to me is the way that that's all integrated together. So sometimes the enemy isn't there to fight. The enemies are used in a puzzle. And sometimes the way that the platforming is set up is purposely designed to make a battle more difficult. Everything just kind of is integrated together seamlessly, and that's what makes this so hard to put a genre on. Alex, talk a little bit about the integration between genres in this game.
Yeah, this is a unique game that would not work as a flat game because of the way that they've integrated you into the game. You right from the beginning, when Quill comes out and she looks up at you, she kind of points at the water, and then you look at the water and you can see your own reflection. So straight away, the developers wanted you to know that you are a real entity in this world. You're not just a camera controlling this little mouse. And you are involved throughout the entire game. It starts out kind of simple with you just pulling doors and maybe flicking a lever, or you can slow down a water wheel or something. But as the game progresses, you get a bit more and more involved. When you're in the combat, you can control some of the enemies to help Quill while you're fighting them. So you're controlling Quill whilst also trying to stop some of the enemies. You can obviously revive Quill if she comes down. You've got to grab hold of her and pull her up for a few seconds to revive her. So when it starts getting a bit hectic, you're not just sat there kind of with a controller. You can play this with a controller on the PS4, but with the actual PC, you're using your controllers, your individual controllers, so you have both hands and hand presence in there, as well as control with the thumbsticks. And this definitely does play better on the touch controls and on the index. I played it on the index. Unfortunately, I've heard people say it's kind of difficult on the Vive, because obviously you've only got the trackpads. But people said that you can play if you plug in a gamepad, you can use a gamepad and then have a wand next to you just for the interaction. So you can still do it, but it's going to be a bit more awkward. Whereas with the touch controllers and with the index controllers, you've got the thumbstick, so you can move Quill around while you're doing things. It is easier that way. So.
Yeah, I think that aspect of the gameplay is what makes this just so fun. As you, the reader, not only are you part of the story, but you're in control of pretty much everything in this game. You're controlling Quill with the thumbsticks and buttons. You heal Quill by interacting directly with the character and reaching out. You are moving platforms to allow Quill to get across, and you're working the puzzles by manipulating the enemies, manipulating Quill, the platforms, everything. So you need to be good at multitasking if you're going to be good at this game, because that's pretty much the underlying gameplay of this game. It's all about how well you can multitask and think about things in a sequential manner. So that said, I think we've pretty much covered it here. Are there any other aspects of this that we've left out that I'm not thinking to talk about here?
No, I think we've covered it.
All right. So my overall impressions of this game, it's a $30 game, $25 on. Let's see here. I'm looking at the wrong thing. No, this is $30 on everything, right? It's on. You can get it on PSVR. You can get it on Oculus Quest and all PCVR platforms. It's $30 across the board, and I gotta say, I absolutely 100% think that this game is a must own. I can't think of any real substantial criticism of it. It's beautiful graphically. It's beautiful from audio design perspective. The genre is really unique, and the gameplay is really unique and fun. It's challenging, but not too challenging. The story and the character provide an emotional connection with the player, and I just think it's a masterpiece and a must own for anybody who has a VR headset. Roots, what's your final verdict on Moss?
I definitely agree, unless you hate platformers. But even if you hate platformers, there's just so much to it. Even the story and environments, as far as there was one point that I remember going through where he was running through, and it was like he was going through, for him must have been like just a huge opening into a tree and went down into this level, and I'm looking at the tree, and it's like a doorway going to the next level, and I just imagine like being that small, and then you go into it, and I just think it definitely, I agree, a must have. Even at $30, I think it's definitely worth trying and checking out.
100%, definitely. Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It's an essential game for anyone, and even if you think you're probably not going to enjoy it, you'll get in there and you'll just fall in love with it. So pick it up, get it. Even at $30 now, they've got the DLC in there. If it pads it out enough to make it warrant that price. But I do believe it's on sale right now. So if you're quick, you can still get it as part of the summer sale. I think it's not got a massive discount, but it's still a little bit cheaper. But yeah, you've got to play this game, and the developers we know that they're working on the second game, and I can't wait to see what they do with this game, this character, this world. So
yeah, I agree. I can't wait for the sequel. They are actively working on it right now. They've been working on it for a while, from what I understand, and yeah, I wanted more the second this game ended. And to what they were just saying a moment ago, even if you don't like platformers or you don't like puzzle games, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to like this one, because, as we just said, this is a unique game from a gameplay perspective. Nothing else, no other game I've ever played plays quite like this one. And even if you don't like the gameplay, which I don't believe will be the case, but this game's worth having just to witness the production values and the beautiful world that they have created here. It really is stunning, even down to the smallest detail, and it's worth having just as a showpiece to show other people. And honestly, there have been times where I've just gone out into the woods toward the beginning of this game and just sit there and chilled for a while, because it's so relaxing just to feel like you're out in the middle of this giant woods with the sound effects. It really creates a sense of immersion unlike any other game. And 100% agree that this is a must-own.
Yep.
All right, so unless you guys have anything else to say, that will wrap our review discussion of Moss. If you've played this game, be sure to let us know what you think in the comments down below. And if you've liked our presentation here, click the like button. And again, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to keep up with our almost daily content now on the channel. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
Yep.
See you later.
Yep. All right, thank you. Bye.